Hey there, welcome to the Soul Current. I'm Lisa. So good to have you here. I'm going to start today by asking you a question. And again, this is all part of the spiritual experience because I was intending to go in one direction for this episode, but out of nowhere, I had this profound insight or memory of something I experienced in a previous spiritual journey I was on that stopped me from continuing. And I just feel like now that I know what I know, and we're going to get into all of it, this is a great question to ask you because it's a great starting point. And that question is, have you ever felt like everything in your life is unraveling? Like no matter what you do, it just seems to get worse instead of better. Most people can say yes to that at some point. If that is where you are right now, I need you to know this. You're not broken. You're not failing. And you are definitely not alone. So on this podcast, I explore the spiritual journey, right? The phases that we all go through as we awaken to a deeper version of ourselves. Now, in my own spiritual journey, I just recognized there were areas with very little resources and information available to help us understand where we are. We don't all come into a spiritual journey understanding why we search. And for me personally, most of the books I was picking up, they kind of start there. But what if we don't even understand why we're restless, why we feel that way, why we need to search, why we're going on this journey? So I needed to be met there. So as a result, over the past couple of years, I have understood that there is a need. There is a need for information to be available to people to meet them where they are at those beginning stages where we're just starting to try to figure out, what am I going through? What is happening? And one of the phases, or phase one, is what I call the pre-stirring phase, sort of being aware of your restlessness. That's really all the pre-stirring phase is. You're aware of your restlessness. You can still carry on with life as usual, but you have an awareness that there's discontent. Phase two is what I call the stirring. And that's the phase that's sort of, you cross over a threshold from pre-stirring into stirring when you lean in to start searching. You're looking for answers, listening to podcasts like mine. Maybe you follow me on TikTok. Maybe you're reading books, right? That's where you have now crossed into the stirring phase. And the stirring has a really intensified current to it, meaning I called it the stirring because it stirs things up. Memories, emotions, old patterns, fears, they all rise to the surface. And if you've led a pretty decent life, that might not be so bad. But if you're somebody that's buried down abuse or trauma, that might be a scary thought, right? But here's what I want you to understand before we go on. The entire point of a spiritual journey is alignment. And we'll go over in later episodes what we're aligning with and why that is the goal. But for now, I just want you to understand alignment is where the doors truly start to open for you. But you cannot align if parts of you are misaligned. So what happens in the stirring is everything in us that's misaligned, all of those memories that make us panic at the mere thought of having to think about them, they come to the surface. And if we don't allow them to be acknowledged, they keep us in misalignment. And you deserve to be aligned because that's where the magic of life happens, truly. So you want to allow those memories to surface. Now, for me, I had a trauma memory, and I think I've spoken about this in other episodes, and that was my father. I lost him very suddenly, and walking into the hospital and seeing him on that stretcher, lifeless, was a memory I swore I would never let myself think about. And it was such a powerful memory. I can remember the floor, the shoes I was wearing, the coat, the feeling of his hair, his skin, everything. And so I just would never let myself think about it. And anytime it would surface, I would panic, think of puppies, think of kittens, push it back down. So while I was going through the stirring phase, I recognized, okay, wait a minute, I have some tools available to me to be able to deal with this. And the primary tool for you for any spiritual journey, the number one thing you can always do is breathe. Why is that the number one? Breathing 4 in, hold for 1, out for 6 is the number one way to relax your nervous system and teach it to stay calm. Because that's what your nervous system has one job, and that is to keep us alive, to protect us. And it's constantly flying into fight or flight and causing worry and fear, and that's what's doing it. So if you can teach your nervous system to relax, then you're one step ahead. So when memories rise to the surface, if you've gotten into the groove of breathing, and you don't know when, it can be standing in line getting coffee, it can be nursing your little one, it could be anything. At any time, a memory pops up. If you know, all I have to do here is breathe, because the only thing the stirring asks of us is noticing and listening. That's it. And when I say that's it, I mean that. There's no more to it. You don't have to fix. You're not judging. You're not altering. Nothing. You notice, oh, there's that memory. You remind yourself, I'm not back there anymore. My dad's not in the hospital anymore. I'm not there. It's all done. It's just a memory, and I don't need it anymore. Okay, so you're just noticing and breathing. That's it. But while you're going through it, sometimes it really does feel like life itself is falling apart. So just understand, during the stirring phase, it is common to feel disoriented, can even emotionally chaotic, just unsure of yourself. So you might have thoughts like, did I do something wrong? Should I even do this? Should I stick this out or just run for the hills? Why does life feel like it's getting worse and not better? These thoughts tend to arise for a lot of people. But here's the truth. The feelings are not a sign you've done anything wrong. They are an actual part of the stirring phase. Everyone is experiencing it. The process of old patterns surfacing so that your life can reorganize on a much deeper level. That's what's happening. The stirring, in fact, is so powerful, so transformative, that I wrote an entire book about it. The book itself is called The Stirring. I go through everything, all the possible experiences you may have. Maybe you go through all of them, maybe just a few of them. Exercises, techniques that you can use, everything. And I realized as I worked on it that this phase is worth slowing down for, understanding deeply. When old emotions, memories, patterns come up during the stirring, your nervous system and your mind try to make sense of it. It's a natural part. There's nothing. Don't look at them like they're problems. They most definitely are not. They're doing their job. That's what they're designed to do. Life can feel chaotic, confusing, even frightening, and your nervous system and mind, they just naturally want to make sense of it. So it might seem like things are actually getting worse instead of better. So you feel emotionally unstable. The world is spinning around you. That is because you're actually crossing a threshold. Isn't that awesome? You're crossing a threshold. You're leaving the stirring phase behind and moving into a deeper layer of growth. Just know that just because it feels like you're falling apart, like life is falling apart, doesn't mean it's actually falling apart. Okay? It just means transformation is happening underneath the surface. So the turbulence, totally normal, but temporary, that's a great word, right? And necessary for the awakening to unfold, which, by the way, is the next phase. So what can you do when it feels like everything is falling apart? during this stirring phase. So here's a couple of tools that you can use, okay? Got to ground yourself. The best way to ground yourself is to notice your body. So wherever you are right now, are you sitting on something? Feel what is underneath you. Then feel your head and your neck and work your way all the way down to your feet. Notice your body, okay? Notice any tension. Then I want you to observe your emotions. No judgment at all. It doesn't matter if you feel annoyance and frustration and exhaustion. It doesn't matter. No judgment. Just observe your emotions. Don't act on them. Imagine being a witness to them. You're just sort of on the outside eating popcorn, watching your emotions. That's it. That's all you got to do. If you want, grab a journal and write down what feels like it's falling apart. It's one thing to say life just feels like it's falling apart. Well, why? What feels like it's falling apart? And is there any evidence at all that growth is happening under the surface? That's another great question you can write in your journal. Maybe you notice you have a lot more patience than you used to. Or maybe you notice that you notice your emotions. Maybe you notice that. You're like, hey, I am a lot more aware of my emotions. And I'm now able to say that I always get angry when the dogs bark, whatever the pattern is. So what evidence is there that growth is happening? And write down those little changes. Just be patient with yourself, okay? Have some compassion for yourself. This is a big phase. It's a really big phase. It's a transformative phase, doing a lot of stuff here. So compassion is your friend because you are in transition and you are moving very quickly towards clarity and insight. So if life feels like it's falling apart right now, that's actually a marker that you're moving through a powerful phase of your spiritual journey. I'm telling you, the stirring, yeah, it was hard. For me specifically, I found it very, very emotionally exhausting. So much so, like I said, I was compelled to write a book. I had the insight, the clarity of mind. I saw the cover of the book in my mind. It was so clear. This was such a powerful phase. I felt like people need to know about it. You're not broken, okay? You're not broken. You're not failing. You're just getting ready to cross into another threshold. The stirring is doing its work. So in the next episode, we are going to talk a little bit about clarity and insight and what they feel like after the stirring and how the momentum that's been building actually begins to reshape your life. That's what I've been saying when I say all of this is leading somewhere. It's like when you start at a gym, right? You know the goal, like you have an image of what you want to look like. And you have the reality of what you look like. But going from one to the other requires some work, right? And that is what I want you to look at your spiritual journey like. Not so much work you have to do, but the stuff happening beneath the surface. For the most part, all we really need to do while we're going through this is be aware, notice, and listen. That's pretty much all we have to do. And the more aware we become and the deeper that awareness becomes, the more aligned we become. And we're going to get to all of that in the upcoming episodes. Just know next episode, it's all about clarity and insight, what they feel like after the stirring has done everything it's doing. And again, how that momentum will begin to reshape your life. Just want you to hold this with you as you leave today. Falling apart doesn't mean falling away, okay? It doesn't mean that at all. It means transformation is happening. You are exactly where you need to be, okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. I will meet you back here again next week. Till then, take care. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel, The Soul Current Podcast with Lisa. Over there, we have guided meditations, guided visualizations, some journal entry suggestions, daily exercises you can use to help keep you on track and see you through the movements and experiences you're going through. That's The Soul Current Podcast with Lisa on YouTube. Thanks for listening.